Hi everyone, my name is JT Giri. I'm the CEO and founder of nOps. I also have with me today Harsha Rajasimha, who's the CEO of Jeeva. We will be discussing, road to ISV Partner Path and how Jeeva leverage nOps to achieve that. A little bit background on myself. I've been migrating companies to AWS ever since EC2 was in beta, so a lot of experience with with AWS. And Harsha, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and maybe talk about your experience so far with nOps?
Certainly. Thank you so much, JT. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm Harsha Rajasimha. I'm the founder CEO of Jeeva Informatics Solutions. We are a software as a service platform. I'll be talking a little bit about our company and how we leveraged nOps to achieve the well-architected review and the foundational technical review with AWS.
About the agenda for today. Harsha will go over the company background and the process, how they leverage nOps to do the well-architected assessment and some results and benefits. And I'll give you guys more information on who nOps is, how nOps could help, and how partners like Jeeva are leveraging nOps to accelerate the WAFR and ISV journey on AWS. And so let's get started. Harsha, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you so much. To get started, a little bit background about who we are. Jeeva is a eClinical cloud-based software as a service that helps clinical researchers, contract research organizations, biopharmaceutical companies, and medical device sponsors accelerate their remote patient enrollment by 3 times faster or more. We do that through our bring your own device software platform that saves over 70% of the logistical burden on study teams and patients. The modular software design allows for rapid configurations and fit it to a particular clinical trial protocol, as every clinical trial could be unique and different. This includes short-term or long-term, cross-sectional or longitudinal, interventional or observational real-world evidence type clinical trials. A bit of a background on how we embarked on the nOps journey. We were running several workloads on Amazon Web Services and wanted to leverage AWS as a marketing and co-sales partner, the Amazon Partnership Network. And during those conversations with AWS, we received information about nOps and the importance of achieving foundational technical review and the well-architected framework review. Those are prerequisites, by the way, to be a APN member. And so, especially working in the global healthcare clinical trial space, we understand how critical best practices and standards are in terms of IT infrastructure. And so after doing some due diligence, we found nOps in the Amazon marketplace and signed up with them, not knowing exactly what we were getting into. And while getting through the well-architected framework review, we had calls with the nOps team, and they helped us understand the process and plan, which was pretty straightforward and mostly automated. Enabling us with the AWS permissions within nOps, and we were able to link our AWS instance with the nOps pretty rapidly and create workloads for both the FTR as well as the WAFR reviews. And there was a lot of auto discovery that helped us analyze the workloads against the 5 pillars of WAFR and the 3 pillars of FTR, which I'm sure JT Giri will go into in a bit more detail around cost, performance, security, etc. And the nOps auto answered most of the questions, so we saved a ton of time with our own internal DevOps teams. They did not have to spend as much time in reviewing all that, and we were able to rapidly get the reports for HIPAA 21 CFR Part 11, the IT security, SOC compliance, etc. So we did that because we were able to get all the resource violations and corrective actions all automated, and the recommendations were also made. So it was pretty much like serving on a platter of sorts. So we were able to quickly get through that and download the final reports, which were auto-generated, and send it off in an email to the AWS FTR team. And within a few days, we received approval in a single iteration. So we did not have to go through multiple iterations after that. So as an example, here is a screenshot of a workload summary. As we created and ran workloads, it showed us on the dashboard as to how many critical violations or high priority violations existed, and helped us get through addressing most of these violations one by one. So in terms of results, we had corrected usage of IAM and multi-factor authentication best practices, some of which we had overlooked or neglected, segregated the AWS accounts for better management and guardrails, enabled the relational data store snapshot backup and EC2 machine images backed up, enabled CloudTrail logs and better audit trails and continuous monitoring and compliance related activities. So one of the important lessons we learned through this exercise is compliance is not a one-time activity or a event. It's a ongoing activity, and it's a continuous process. And with nOps, the good thing is it makes that continuous process smooth and easy. At any given time, we can go and refresh the dashboard, and we see all the potential violations, and we can take corrective action and preventive action. So that's very critical particularly in the clinical trial space, which is highly regulated. So that's pretty much the key results that we got out of this. So significant benefits really from my point of view, with no additional overhead. Staying in compliance was made smooth, easy, and continuous, with significant cloud savings. We were primarily looking at nOps for achieving the foundational technical review and the well-architected framework review, but I think we got significantly more benefit than what we were looking for in a solution. And also the continuous monitoring aspect of compliance. So with that, I hand it over back to you, JT Giri.
Yeah. It's amazing that, most of the time, most of the issues in cloud happen because of misconfigurations, right? Like, you notice whenever there's a breach, it's always like there's a user who doesn't have MFA, somehow, someone was able to log in, these best practices. So it's good that you guys were able to kind of prioritize this, right? Like, and enabled MFAs, make sure you don't have S3 buckets, because that's like, those are the common misconfiguration that ends up costing you a lot, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So yeah, if you guys are not familiar with nOps, I'll give more information on nOps. We are an advanced technology partner. We're also a certified AWS well-architected partner. We have a very close integration with the well-architected tool. That's one of the ways we were able to help Jeeva. We also have a lot of sort of functionality around cost. We help companies to right size. We also analyze your workload to make sure what type of commitments are the right commitments. Sometimes maybe running the workload on spot instances is a lot cheaper, and we also make recommendations around RIs and things like that. Our main focus is more on the operation side. We're really focused on helping companies to really operationalize best practices. So the goal is, what happens if you find like critical issues on your high-risk issues on your account? We help companies to make sure they're able to follow through and remediate those issues. And we love working with companies like Jeeva because once you have these best practices in place, you're able to kind of focus on developing products, right? Delivering value to your customers. Just a little bit more about how the process works with nOps and FTR. So we automatically discover all the high-risk issues. This is what Harsha was talking about, that we were able to auto-detect most of the high-risk issues and present it to the Jeeva team. And we're also able to analyze all the data from CloudTrail and also just looking at your metadata and make recommendations on where we see the high-risk issues. And I also believe that FTR is a good starting point. It really helps you to kind of make sure you have some basic best practices in place. And everyone is always focused on reducing costs. And like Harsha mentioned, they were able to reduce their cost by almost 60%, which is great. And we do spend a lot of time in helping customers to optimize their costs. We also help customers to find reliability opportunities. Whenever you're building infrastructure on AWS, it really comes down to making trade-offs, right? Sometimes you have to optimize for reliability. If you optimize for cost, you might not be able to meet your SLAs. So we provide the coverage around all the 5 pillars. That way, customers can make the right trade-offs when they're building solutions on AWS. We also help companies with chargebacks, creating budgets, especially if you have multiple teams. This is really helpful. That way, you can make sure that all the different teams are accountable for their own budgets and things like that. I'll quickly talk about the process with nOps and WAFR. Harsha kind of touched on this a little bit. We auto-discover most of the issues, and we present it to you in a way where you can use it to prioritize and take actions. If this is something you need our help with, we have a lot of partners we work with. We can also bring in a partner because there are times that a lot of the ISVs, they don't have the resources, so we really help you to bring in external resources. We also have integration with the well-architected tool. So what that really means is everything you do within nOps, we sync it back to your account. And AWS normally looks at that. And this gives you an opportunity to co-sell with AWS, because once you create that workload on AWS side, there is some opportunity to get some credits back from AWS. We also help to centralize all the documentation related to the assessment, whether that be WAFR or FTR. Most of the time, what we notice is people gather all this information about RPOs, RTOs, and security incident management. But once the assessment is done, no one could find those documents and documentations, right? Harsha, you're laughing. I'm pretty sure you dealt with this over and over, right? I've dealt with it many times, right? So one of the ways we help companies is to centralize this documentation. When you create a workload, you're uploading all this documentation. Not only is it's useful and a lot more streamlined to send it over to AWS, but you can always go back and reference back those documents. This is great for ISVs like Jeeva, right? This is a starting point. FTR is a starting point for most of the companies, right? Once you have best practices in place, you can co-sell with AWS, and the opportunity there is huge, right? If you're able to develop a go-to-market strategy where AWS is positioning your software, it's amazing the progress you can make there. So what nOps does for ISVs is, first of all, it reduces the time to do FTR assessment. If the process is manual, it could drag on for months, whereas we try to auto-discover most of the issues. We have a pretty user-friendly approach. We integrate to the well-architected tool, so whatever you do in the platform, we push it back. And once you're done with the assessment, we provide continuous monitoring. This is not like once done and move on type of thing. Compliance is something you have to manage an ongoing basis. So whenever you go for the FTR assessment a year from now or 2 years from now, it becomes easier, right? Because you're kind of operationalizing these checks and balances on an ongoing basis. So basically, we really make this process easier, a lot more streamlined, so you can focus on getting the assessment done, and then you have the opportunity to co-sell with AWS.